Welcome back, nieces, nephews, everything in between and or otherwise, to another episode of Video Game Realtor, where I go through your favorite games and see if I can't find you a place to stay. And today, due to overwhelming demand, we are looking at the test chambers of Portal 2. Though, do make sure to check out my previous video covering Portal 1 if you missed it. All the same rules from that video still apply here. So no portal gun or longfall boots, and the only allowed alterations to the chambers will be adding ladders, adding bridges, and knocking down glass as needed. Someone did leave a comment on my last video though about allowing stairs as an alteration, but I feel that would just make things a bit too easy, so we'll stick with the bare minimum for now. In the last video, it's pretty easy to say what was and wasn't a test chamber. If the room had one of these, then it counted. Anything outside of the intended bounds of that chamber did not count, such as the Ratman hideouts and then the entire second half of the game once you break away. But with Portal 2, there are so many rundown and out of bounds areas and chambers that are just straight up from the first game that make it hard to choose what should and shouldn't be considered for this video. And don't even get me started on the testing spheres. Do I count the whole sphere as one thing, or do I break it down room by room? And what even counts as part of a room in those places? I was really dreading making this video for all those reasons, plus there are simply more than double the chambers compared to the first game. 43 by my count and criteria. Speaking of that criteria, I'll very quickly go over how I chose what made it into the video. The easiest part? Chambers covered in the first game that make a return in this one will not be considered. Watch the first video if you want to know what I think about those. Number 2, I kinda just felt it out. Obviously all the chambers that GLaDOS and Wheatley put you through count, especially when they have screens or an entry and exit elevator. Some of the test spheres are their own chambers, meaning you ride in on an elevator, solve the chamber puzzles, and then leave on an elevator. But some of the test spheres are broken down into multiple chambers because they'll have multiple rooms with their own puzzles. Sometimes it is hard to tell which one should be split and which one shouldn't, but usually fizzlers are a pretty good indicator of where things start and finish down there. And that's pretty much how I went into these, though those are just general rules and not hard outlines, so don't hold me to those too much. And if you think that I should have done things differently, or if I just plain forgot to include some chambers, please do let me know. And one last thing is that I got a lot of suggestions for a lot of different games, and I'd love to cover them all in time, but as it is now, I just cannot do that. The only tools I have right now is a Switch and a shitty laptop that can barely run Minecraft. And so I hate to ask you this because I seem like such a dork doing it, but if you guys enjoy this series and you want to see your favorite game covered on Video Game Realtor, then please interact with this video in any way. That way it'll get boosted in the algorithm, and then more people will watch it, and then I can afford to buy the tools necessary to make more videos for y'all. Just a subscription and a like will do more than you could know, and it's totally free, so please feel free. Or don't, I'm not your mom. And speaking of suggested games, please do leave comments for the games you want to see covered on Video Game Realtor. I do plan to do them all eventually. But with all of that out of the way, let's talk about the worst test chamber to live in Portal 2. Number 43, Chamber 37. Yeah, well, it's actually kind of hard to refer to these chambers at all because they don't really have specific numbers tied to them. I think there are like 3 test chamber ones, so the number I gave them are really just the order in which they occur in the game. But the numbers don't really matter much. It's the places we're here for, and this one is pretty or should I say pretty pit. All of these bottom pick chambers are down here because in one way or another they pose an immediate threat to us. This chamber has a not so bottomless pit that would not be fun to fall down. Though this is kind of a weird death system in the main game considering Shell has the longfall boots and should be fine falling down there. We even see this exact scenario take place when Wheatley takes over the facility. But that is besides the point. The actual point is that you will die if you fall down there, plus there's really more down than up in this chamber anyway. There's hardly any floor space, and the entry is far below the main space and the exit. Plus the careful work that would be needed to get up and down from this one is nowhere near worth the risk, so this was an easy pick for the bottom. Number 42, Chamber 15. This is hardly an improvement, and it's solely due to the space by the exit and the fact that we have water instead of the pits, which I consider to be more safe because in theory you can get out of it. But back to that exit area, it's going to take a little bit of bridging to get over to, which is something I only recommend doing over the water. Even though it isn't really that much space, it's still more space and way safer than the last place. Number 41, Chamber 8. There is a touch more space overall, but it's not by much. And it's broken up into these areas, the middle of which is pretty small. But I do give it the higher spot, mostly due to the fact that the whole place is on the same Y level, and I think there would be many less accidents that way. Number 40, Chamber 7. Again, just a bit more space with the starting area, the cube area, and the exit space. Plus, they're on the same Y level again, so that is nice. And with a lot of these bottom picks, usually the only thing that gets them higher than the other is just having a bit more space overall, so get ready for that to be the reasons for a while. Number 39, Chamber 40. Would you believe me if I told you that this one had more space? Though admittedly most of the usable space from this one comes from the entrance, and the rest of the space is a bit too risky for me to recommend, but risky enough for me to confidently talk about. There are these two freestanding platforms that I wouldn't try to get to, but here they are. And then there's an area by the exit way up there that would be a total pain to get to, but don't let me tell you what to do. Number 38, Chamber 45. There are two massive pits for you to fall into in here, one to your right and one directly in front of you, though it is already leagues better than the last simply due to the fact that there is just much more space to actually put stuff down. There is obviously this main area when you first walk in, which is a fine amount of space, and then a bit more space on the right behind this glass wall that I suggest we keep up for that extra bit of division between you and a bottomless pit. But this isn't all the space. Eagle-eyed nieces, nephews, everything in between and or otherwises might have spied that little bit of leg land far across the pit. And hey, if you buy the place, then it's yours. But it's also your funeral if you try to get across to there, so choose wisely. Number 37, Chamber 43. This one again is going higher because it is just a touch more safe. Just one big pit to worry about here. Easy.
But Uncle Lloyd, what about the lasers?
I can hear you thinking. Well, same as the last video. One that you should definitely watch if you haven't seen it yet. In this scenario, we would have control over certain devices within the chambers. For instance, these lasers. So we'll switch them off for you and then give you the remote, and you can choose if you want to use them again for whatever reason. Number 36, Chamber 14. We are back to the water again. And now that I'm really looking at it, I must admit it looks much better in this game. Even has a reflection. Not much to this one yet again, just a little bit more room with that extra space by the exit. I also like that it's pretty closed in at the beginning, keeps it a little bit safer from that deadly water. Number 35, Chamber 9. There is significantly more space in this one, and I'm not just talking how big the room is. We actually have a lot more space that we can walk around in and put furniture down. And this is one of the first test chambers to come with an Aperture Science aerial faceplate, which I advise you turn off and stay far away from. You lay a single toe on that thing and you'll be launched straight into the air. And I'm doubtful that you'll be as graceful as our girl Shell here, so it'll be right into the water for you. Number 34, Chamber 39. Yep, you guessed it, more space. It's a pretty alright place, but the best part about it is that we get a glass-walled nook. People did not like how loud I got about the nooks in the last video, so I thought I'd dial it back this time. You are welcome, nerds. Not a whole lot to this place other than this extra space across the gap, which I honestly would risk setting up a bridge to. It's a pretty short distance. Number 33, Chamber 31. Here we have our first testing sphere chamber, and there ain't much to it. Really, it's just kind of a square room that's missing a wall that you should obviously stay away from. And again, I suggest trying not to get to that further part, not really because it's so dangerous, but just that there isn't really anything over there for you to get to. This area is kind of just a big pillar. Not much to it. Number 32, Chamber 30. Hey, back-to-back testing spheres, how about that? And yet again, they are pretty similar. Another square room guy, but this square room is just a little bit larger and a bit safer to boot, with having all of its walls, only missing a little bit of the fourth one by the water pit. It also has a little bit of elevation to it with this thing in the corner, probably where I'd put my bed, like a watchtower. Number 31, Chamber 44. With this chamber, we step right into a time machine and see what the last chamber would look like in the future. It genuinely is kind of just a polished version of the last chamber, but even safer, with having only this small access to a pit. But that'll be real easy to avoid though. What really sets this one apart is that when you break this glass, you get another fucking nook. How do you like that one, nerds? Leave a beautiful comment rating my beautiful singing ability. Number 30, Chamber 32. This one was honestly so hard to rank. You obviously get a ton of space in here, and plenty of handrails to boot, though this whole place is suspended over a lake of shit water, making the parts of this place without handrails all the more dangerous. I was really torn on the placement of this one, but thankfully it did some of the work for me by having that aforementioned shit water. So I knew it had to go at least this low. Regardless, do let me know what you guys think. And one last thing, don't even think about trying to get to the exit in this place. Number 29, Chamber 2. Old number 2, how green you are. If the shit water were gone, this place would have been much higher. I got a comment about this recently, someone saying something along the lines of, even though some places have dangers in them, they are still nicer than some places that are completely safe, and that I was kind of skewed in my ranking of those places, and that maybe some places with danger should go higher. You would just need to be a little bit more careful, and they are ultimately better places than some of the fully safe places. But my response to that is, I really do view safety as the #1 priority, full stop, with any of these places that I go over. So even though a lot of places would be pretty great, like Chamber 2, if they didn't have the shit water, or if we just had to be a little bit more careful about them, I still think they should go lower, because I don't know if any of you guys live in like a dangerous house, but you know, I don't want to have to worry about tripping and falling into like a vat of acid while trying to get like milk for my cereal in the morning. And so I think that even if a place is kind of boring or not as interesting, if it's safe, it should go automatically higher than something that isn't inherently safe, if that makes sense. But even with this place being a little unsafe, it's still pretty nice. There is plenty of space in this main area, far away from the water, so it's not a big issue. And they even added handrails for us around the corner. How thoughtful. And there's also some unique panel stairs that I really like in this game. They even have this button that raises part of the floor over the water. I think it would be nice to keep that raised for safety. Plus we could also use those panel stairs as retractable tables if needed. Number 28, Chamber 38. This one is quite nice and clean. Not much fixer-upping needed in here. The worst part about this place is the pit. Whoops. But the true worst part is just how plain this place is. It's just a really big room, and that's all I've really got to say on it. Number 27, Chamber 21. Tons of space in here, so much room for activities, no bunk beds needed. It even comes with one of our favorites, a possibly too large nook. Opposite to that nook corner is an elevated platform that I'd have as another watchtower bedroom. This place gives you a ton of floor space, but you just need to watch out for the water along the sides and in the back. Only other thing of interest in here is the area on the back wall, which wouldn't be too hard to get to, but hey, that's your call. And of course we'll be turning off the light bridges and lasers for you. Number 26, Chamber 27. I hope you're excited because this is the last of the danger chambers. Now originally this came up much lower because I foolishly was only going to count this bottom part and pretty much disregard the actual test chamber because you would need such a long ladder to even get up there. But I decided not to be such a buzzkill and do what the actual premise is and talk about the test chamber. And it's a pretty damn good one, all things considered. There is more than plenty of space down here, and I particularly like this bend in the walls giving us access to more space on the bottom. And yes, I did say bottom because this place has multiple stories. In this corner here we have another area that, yet again, I think would make for a nice little bedroom. But just be careful about using the bathroom in the middle of the night. A little higher than that is an area that I suggest you stay away from because one slip up and you're in the water pit. Maybe you could use this place just for storage. The real elevation comes into play up here and is where you should actually put your bed if you want some more privacy. I really like this area up here and how it overlooks the whole room. And if you really wanted, you could hang some curtains up for extra privacy. Plus, this area by the Fizzler would make for a great doorway to this place, right above what could be a decent office or something. Speaking of offices, now that we're done with the danger chambers, we can get into a section that at least one person was looking forward to in the last video, that of course being the activity centers. If you only started watching this series from the Portal video, then let me fill you in. Whenever I come across a level that could work as a home, but in some way would just be a little awkward for it, whether it be that it's just too wide open, or maybe they have obvious features that wouldn't really work in a home, I put them into their own category of activity centers. Places that people can go to have fun, do some learning, or just hang out. I didn't think any of the Portal 1 chambers really fit the bill, but in this game I've got 5 of them. And same as always, these places don't have to be what I say they are, these are just what they remind me of. Also subscribe, not related, it would just be nice. This video is coming out on Valentine's Day after all. Number 25, Chamber 17. First up for the activity centers is one that I think would work great as a gym. I don't know how many of you guys have ever been to a gym, but if you take out all the equipment, they're pretty much just big plain rooms, and that's exactly what this place is. Though of course we would get rid of the deadly laser and those, I really don't know what you would call these things, but we would get rid of them anyway. Put some treadmills along the wall, set up a bench press and a squat rack, and you're just one lunk alarm away from your very own Planet Fitness. Number 24, Chamber 13. Alright, gonna be honest here and tell you, I have no idea what this place could be used for. But it's so spacious and irregularly shaped that it couldn't just be a regular place. So I'm gonna let like 5 seconds of footage play and ask you guys to come up with stuff. If I like your idea, I'll leave one of those hearts on your comments that YouTubers use when they don't actually want to respond to a comment. Number 23, Chamber 22. This one's a little out there and possibly dangerous with the idea that I have. I think this chamber would be a good gym. Nasium. Specifically for basketball, like most gyms are. I think the amount of space on the ground would work perfect for a basketball court. It might even be too big, which is even better. There are even alcoves along the walls for the bench warmers to sit, and spaces higher up that would make for shitty stands to watch the game. Only issue is that this area in the middle right here could become a tripping hazard, so I'd pull more of those panels up to prevent that. But be careful in the meantime. Number 22, Chamber 33. Okay, this is going to be a really weird pitch, so I'm going to ask you guys to hear me out on this one. This is, as far as I can tell, the biggest and most wide open test chamber in the game. I mean, just look at all this open space with nothing in it. And my pitch for this place is to make it into an orphanage, or hell, even a homeless shelter. This place has more than enough space to fit a ton of people, so I figure, why not help out a ton of people and let them stay here as long as they need. We've got plenty of space for beds, multiple kitchens, areas for recreation, you name it, we got the space. Not much more to say on this one, but here it is. Number 21, Chamber 18. I don't know what it is about this place, but I'm really getting a library vibe from it. I think it's partly due to this structure in the middle, which reminds me of the second stories in libraries. Though there isn't much space up top, but underneath is the part which really calls to me. I'd imagine this is where you could set up some tables for studying. Can't you just imagine this whole place full of bookshelves and people reading? They even have this perfect little alcove by the door where a receptionist desk could go. This really is my favorite activity center, and I might even recreate it in Minecraft with all the library stuff just to show it off. If I do that, I'll put the footage up here just for shits and gigs. Alrighty, now it's time to get into the actual safe homes to live in. From here on, these places are going to be ranked almost entirely on vibes and aesthetics. And that is certainly not an exact science and is going to be very opinions based. So if you disagree with these picks, feel free to boost my engagement with a comment about it. But for now, let's talk. Number 20, Chamber 29. This one just barely made it out of being an activity center. It's got that wide open quality to it, but I felt that it was just small enough, had enough little crannies and elevated sections to be considered its own place. Just barely though. And that's why it's on the bottom, and why I don't have much else to say about it. Number 19, Chamber 42. This one kind of just sucks a little bit. You get plenty of space, I guess, though stay away from this spot. It's like that place between the car seats where your phone always gets stuck, except in this scenario, you are the phone, and if you get stuck down there, you die. But if the game doesn't seriously consider this a hazard, then I won't either. Other than that, there's just this area below which would make for a fine bedroom / living room or whatever, but then I don't really know what else to do with the rest of this place. But I'll leave it up to whoever buys the place, so let's move on. Number 18, Chamber 19. Now this place is more my style, though you should probably call an exterminator because it seems like you've got turrets.
You picked the wrong house, fool!
Usually I handle these things before showing the place off, but I seriously could not reach this little dude, try as I might. But hey, this place is pretty cool. Might look a little cramped with these glass walls, but don't worry, we can always smash them out if you don't want them. Though I'd leave them up personally. I feel like they divide up what is an otherwise pretty plain room, and if you leave them up, you can use these panels as a working door. Though for some reason this door does not seem to like cameras. Sorry to all my photographers watching this. Number 17, Chamber 20. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if this was number 17, Chamber 38? Like 1738? Like that song? Not much to this one either, just kind of a big room. Though I like how this one has areas that kind of push into the wall, giving us these corners. That's definitely just a me thing though. Only reason this one goes any higher is because there's an elevator in the back, and those are cool. Number 16, Chamber 10. This one was constantly pretty low while ranking these originally, until I remembered how much I liked elevators, and realized that it actually had some pretty good space down here on the bottom, and some decent space up top. Mostly just in this corner. Solid pick overall. Number 15, Chamber 28. Alright, I can shut the pipes off for you, but you'll have to get someone here to clean this stuff up. And after that, this place is pretty nice, with the two little walls that come out to make cute little rooms. Put some curtains up, and you and a roommate could have a decent setup. Number 14, Chamber 35. This is another really simple one with not too much to think about. Pretty fitting, seeing as it's one of the chambers that Wheatley thought of himself. Though I do kind of like how this lower section, which acts as our main area, we get these protrusions in the wall that allow for more corners. Never would I have thought I'd have a thing for corners, but here we are. Number 13, Chamber 25. This one is very similar to the last and could be argued that it is worse in some ways. Like the exposed plywood and general cobbled togetherness of the testing sphere chambers. But I give this one the extra point because only part of the space is lowered and it's not the main attractor. You could even set up a short bridge across and make it easier to get to the other side, while also making sure your house guests aren't acting the donkey while you aren't looking. Number 12, Chamber 1. Hey, it's the very first test chamber, here to teach you how these magic circles work. And just too shy of the top 10 spot, unfortunately. It's just a little too plain, not much to it, just a square room with some glass. But like I said, it's really just here to teach you how portals work. Speaking of teaching, here's a commentary note on how they improved the tutorial in this game over the first. Enjoy while I play footage of this test chamber.
This room is meant to teach players the fundamentals of portals, connecting them to two places in the world. As the blue portal moves around the world, the orange stays rooted. In the original portal, this room had these portals moving by themselves on a timer. This led to most people simply staring through their orange portal, waiting for the blue one to end up in the right place. We felt that altering this to make the players decide where the portals came out was more instructive, and meant that players who already knew how to use portals could solve this puzzle both quickly and with authority.
Number 11, Chamber 23. Oh, I have a note here from upstairs, making sure that I mention that this test chamber is, let's see here, quote, looking pretty good. And yeah, I gotta agree there. This place is pristine. A little too pristine even. I feel like I'm in a padded cell, but like in a good way. This place would almost be too plain if it weren't for this slightly walled off section by the entrance and this angled wall in the corner. A real nice place that sure is looking pretty good. Bringing us into the top 10 is Chamber 34. Now this one really is a plain ass room, but it goes higher because it is a bit bigger, and I don't feel like I need to wear sunglasses in this place. Not much else to say here. Number 9, Chamber 6. I like this one, and yeah, I would put my bed up in that corner. Plus, you can use these panels as tables if you lower them down. This chamber also has one of the most well-known Ratman hideouts, and is an area that we will be fully disregarding because it is not part of the intended testing area. Number 8, Chamber 16. While ranking these, I always referred to this one as the turret house in my mind because it's reminiscent of the number 1 pick from the last video. That was also full of turrets before we cleaned it up. This place starts off kind of weak with having all these winding halls, though we can remedy that a little bit by removing this pane of glass so that you don't have to go all the way around this first wall. Down the next hall though and up these stairs is where this place really opens up. This first area would work well as a kitchen/dining room combo, and if you feel that it's still a little too cramped for that, then feel free to knock the glass down to give yourself that extra space. If you leave them up though, they really remind me of the nooks from the number 1 spot in the last video. All that's left is the big room, which you can get into a lot faster if you knock this glass out. If not, you can just take the long way around, though there isn't much to this big room. It's kind of like that gym chamber from earlier, but just for you. Isn't that nice? Number 7, Chamber 36. This one is kind of just 2 square rooms stacked on top of each other, which is fine. I also really like how sleek they are too. There's not much to say about that bottom floor, but if we ladder on up, the top floor is a bit more interesting with these higher parts in the back, which gives us some more verticality, but it also makes the room slightly larger than the previous one, because there's some wall space that had been removed. Though I still do find the bottom room a bit more appealing with just how clean it is. Number 6, Chamber 12. This one certainly is more spacious than our last few entries with a full 3 stories to it. Well, maybe not a full 3. Let's go through it. This first floor right by your entrance has enough space to act comfortably as a living room. Couches, bookshelves, TV, and anything else would fit perfectly right in this room. Up to our second floor is where we start to see a bit more unique space. Right from the living room, we have a nice area that I think would work well as a dining room, and you might think that that wall is a bit hindering, but I think it gives us just enough separation from the part of this chamber that could be our kitchen. Right over here with these tilted panels is the perfect size for a big kitchen with an island. Maybe some of these other panels could unfold out of the ground to act as that island. If not, then it would still be a nice place for a kitchen table. Not for formal meals, but just a quick place to eat in the kitchen. Kind of like in American Dad, how they had a dining room and a kitchen table, and they would alternate eating at them. Usually breakfast in the kitchen and then dinner in the dining room. Okay, I'm sick of talking about kitchen stuff. Near the kitchen up this platform is where I would put a bedroom. And if you have someone who loves you enough, you could wake up to the smell of breakfast being beamed straight into your nose every morning. Though it is kind of a small room, but if you had a big enough bed, you could roll from one side of the wall to the other side in it. Though thinking about that makes me feel slightly claustrophobic, so let's move to the last area. There's not much to this place, it's just a little bit of space by the back door, which I think would work fine if you wanted to use it as an office or something. Number 5, Chamber 11. We're back to the basics with this chamber, another classic square room, but this one's a bit cheeky in it. This little step up makes it just a bit cuter, differentiating it from the usual square rooms. There is also a fizzler, which I'm pretty sure should be safe now.
Please be advised that a noticeable taste of blood is not part of any test protocol, but is an unintended side effect of the Aperture Science Material Emancipation Grip, which may, in semi-rare cases, emancipate dental fillings, crowns, tooth enamel, and teeth.
Really? That was from the first game? And nobody thought to mention that while I was making the first video? And I used an audio clip from the second game for the joke? Nobody? Right. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and switch that off again just in case, and move on. Number 4, Chamber 5. This one sat at the top of the list for a long time. Wide open space, smaller, more private rooms, and even stairs. You guys know how I feel about those. This place being so good and simple is really a blessing and a curse. It's a great place, but it doesn't leave much for me to pad the runtime with talking about. So get a good look and let's move on. Number 3, Chamber 41. This is a more strangely laid out place, but remove the turrets, shut off the light bridges and fizzlers, and you can really appreciate the unique shape of this place. The main area obviously gives us plenty of room for whatever, and once those turrets are gone, the area that they were stored in could make for a nice bedroom. And I don't know if I'm just fat or what, but the area in front of the bedroom could make for a nice kitchen. But if not a kitchen, then maybe a gamer station, or an office or something. I feel like it's a little bit too big for either of those, but that's your call of course. Back up top where that light bridge turns on is a spot where you get a little extra space. You could maybe just use that for storage. But the last area, the kind of narrow part by the exit, could make for another good office spot. And that's twice now that I've made you work next to the back door. And that's all for this one. I feel like this place could be laid out better, but I just couldn't quite land on how. So please do let me know how you guys would decorate this place. Number 2, Chamber 3. Alright, this one is really big, and I believe the largest chamber in the game, excluding the Orphanage Activity Center from earlier. The reason it is so large is because it's one of the few chambers, the only one I think, to have a door that leads to an entirely new test chamber. Should I have counted the second room as a separate test chamber? Maybe, but I didn't, and here it is. In the first half, we walked into a pretty large lower area, which would be a great place to come in and throw your keys down, take off your coat, and then there's even a bunch more space for you to do whatever else with. Maybe an office? Up and out of there is where the main space of this room really comes in. Enough room for a small kitchen or living room. Though if you want some more space for that stuff, then just wait a second until we get to the second room. which will be pretty soon, since there isn't much left of this place besides this little Buffalo Bill chamber, which honestly, if you aren't using this place to lower lotion into, I can't really think of a whole lot of other things to use it for. Maybe it can be a shitty little basement for you to put the Christmas lights in or something. Only other place of interest in here is this little built-in cubicle that you can set up if you ever feel like you just really miss the warmness of the office. But enough of the boring part of this house, let's get to the fun stuff in the second place. But on the way there, we have to go through this hallway, which I feel shouldn't be ignored, and if any of you guys have any ideas what this place could be used for, please do let me know. Now into the actual room. Off rip, the area that you come in on is pretty darn spacious, and then right below you there's another, much lower, basement. It's also significantly larger, so maybe you could just have the worst guest room of all time. But if you're one of the more humane types, I guess it could just be used for storage again. In fact, I think we should go for the trapdoor approach here and have this whole open part be covered and used to walk on and connect the two sides. And speaking of those sides, I'm thinking that this side could be a decently sized kitchen. Who needs a big kitchen? I'm no chef. And on the opposite side could be our living room. And this one would be one of our larger living rooms. So maybe it could be a living room gym hybrid for all my fitness freaks out there. Moving on up a little level is an area which is level with the other side of the chamber. And maybe this could be the place where you set up your poker table for you and your buddies to have a game night. I don't know, man, I'm really running out of things to fill a house with at this point. Though one thing I can come up with and has always been sorely lacking in all these places can be found right across this bridge. You should add a bridge here, by the way. And that is of course a bathroom. The glass here is already cracked, giving us a sort of faux mosaic blur over the room, but some extra curtains sure wouldn't hurt anything. The worst part will probably just be setting up plumbing, but lucky for you, I know the Hudson construction guys, so I think I can get you a hookup on a pretty good deal. Though that deal is gonna have to be the last thing I can tell you about this place. It's a pretty darn good place, and real big too. And I'll tell you what, if you didn't like this one, then you are in for a treat, because we're moving on to number 1, Test Chamber 26. Now look, I know this one isn't too pretty, and it's probably not the one that came to most people's minds when they saw the title of this video, but please do give her a chance. Once you look past the plywood flooring and the exposed air ducts, it's actually a pretty nice place. In the main portion of the chamber, there's enough space for a kitchen, living room, gym, scale model Civil War reenactment table, an office, you name it. And this isn't even all the space in here, but before we get to that, I really want to appreciate the place from down here. All the places that I just mentioned can of course fit down here, and they can all be seen from any of those places, because of the openness of this area. No walls to divide up the space and make it feel smaller. And I know how much y'all love the nooks, just like me, and so right here, I had them set one up for you. You are welcome, my nieces, nephews, everything in between and or otherwises. Now, unlike the previous test chambers, where your hypothetical bedrooms would have been exposed to the eyes of anyone in the home, in here, we've got you a big old bedroom, high up and away from any wandering eyes. And when I said big, I did mean big. Probably way too fucking big for a bedroom, so I hope you have a lot of stuff. And of course, you'll need to get this here fixed, but don't worry, I will talk to Hudson again for you. And the very last thing I want to gush about in here is that I just love this part of the chamber where the ceiling comes down real low and gives it just such a cozy feeling to this place. And honestly, it really was the main thing that got me to put this chamber up so high. Not the only thing, of course, but it did pull a lot of weight. And that, paired with every other reason I gave, is why I think this is the best test chamber to live in Portal 2. Oh god, I was not looking forward to making this video. I knew just picking which chamber did and didn't count would be its own big mess, but then actually ranking them with my own opinions, just kill me now. But I'm ready for the comments getting on me about my picks and my rankings, so let's just get it over with. But if you guys do get this video to 1,000 likes, I'll make a video game realtor video about which of the Smash Ultimate stages would be the best to live in. Subscribe if you want me to be able to do a video on your favorite game, follow my Instagram for regular updates on upcoming videos, and leave a comment about which game you want covered next on Video Game Realtor. But with that, I have nothing else to say, so later!